everyone, my name is Giovanna Proença, and today we're going to talk about build a Web3 client-side package for your DAPP project of Web3 of freeCodeCamp. So this project is really nice because we're going to continue doing the projects we're doing so far, alright? So if you didn't work with the previous problems, please watch the videos that we did, try to do the projects together, and then you're able to do this one, okay? So for this project, we're going to build this client-side package in the form of a class. So here we have this class Web3. We're going to work with this index.js in here inside of the Web3 folder. And this Web3 provider is a REST API for our package to make requests. So basically, we're going to allow our software here to go to live, to go to the server, okay? And then we can communicate. And here we have some things to do. We have multiple user stories and tests to run, but that's fine. We'll be able to do this together, okay? The files we're going to work, the only file we're going to write is this index.js inside of the Web3 folder. And then we can take a look here a little bit about how it works in the index.js in the client. This is one file we're going to take a look to see how we're going to structure our calls. And here, this is the provider that they're just creating here. How can we get the provider? Basically, the provider is the server we're going to work with, okay? For example, localhost 3001, basically. Okay, so let's start. So first, we're going to implement the following method. We're going to implement the set client address inside of our class. And basically, the set client address should set the class address property to the given address, okay? So in here, we're going to start creating the set client address. We're going to receive the address from our class, and we're going to build this in a bit. And here, we're going to set that this dot address is equals to this address that we have in here. How can we create our class? So basically, we're going to make a constructor. And in here, if we hover the constructor, we have this parenthesis, and I'm going to send in here nothing so far. And I'm going to create the property address. So this dot address will be equals to null initially, okay? In the future, we're going to do some changes, but right now it will be equals to null. And let's see if it's working. If we run the test, I'm not sure if this will work. It will run something. But here, yes, it's passing the third item. Your class should have a set client method that takes a string as an argument and set the address property of the class to the argument. And that's great. So this is our first step. Now let's go to the next one. So let's do the item 2 here in our test. Your Web3 class should have a provider property that is an instance of URL constructed from the initialized argument. So here in our constructor, we're going to receive a provider, and we're going to create here the property provider. So this dot provider. And what are we going to do? We're going to create a new URL with this provider. So here we can use the word new URL. And then we're going to convert the provider into a URL, okay? And if we run the test, we are supposed to pass in the second item. Great. Now we're going to work with the call. And as you can see, we have multiple things to do with that. So let's read the user stories to start implementing. Now in the call, they're telling us that we're going to use this structure here, call, RPC call, record, and then we're going to receive a promise. So basically right now, we're going to try to do an API call. We're going to connect with the server. Okay, so to do this here, we're going to create a call, okay, a call, and we're going to receive here, they're telling us to do a RPC. We're going to receive this RPC call. So here I'm going to create this variable RPC call. This will be our variable. Here, since they're telling us promise, we're going to use async method, because this, if we don't use the async, we're going to try to get the response from the server too quickly. But in here we have to wait. Okay, so we're gonna use here async and wait to wait the answer from the server, and then we don't crash our code. Okay, then we're gonna make a post method in this call smart contract to the href of the provider property. So now we're gonna use this provider that we use it to make this call. So here I'm gonna use await. I'm going to create a variable const res of response, await, and we're going to do a fetch call, because fetch is normally how we make this call with the server. Here we're going to use backticks because we want to use a variable, and our variable in this case will be the provider. Okay, so this dot provider, and they're explicitly saying that we have to use the href. So here I'm going to use href from this provider. And then our call, we have to say call smart contract. So this is the call we're expecting to have. And then we're going to send some parameters inside, okay, when we're doing this request. So let's see in here, the body of the post. So let's start here creating a post method. We know that this is a post method. Then we're going to have a body. Okay, so here I'm gonna say body, but we will create this property. And what is the body? The body should be the RPC call object literal and the address property of the Web3. So here I'm gonna create a variable body, and we're gonna create this structure with the RPC call that we are receiving here in our line 11 and the address that we have in this Web3. So to do this, we're gonna create here an object. Since it's an object, it's curly bracket, RPC call, and then I'm gonna get the address. Sorry. We're gonna get the RPC call, and here address will be this dot address, and I'm missing here the letter S. Okay, so here we're doing the body, and our body here will be a stringified version. So I'm gonna do JSON.stringify. I'm gonna convert this body into a string. Okay, body. Then the call should return the result property of the HTTP response or throw an error if the response contains a errors property. So in this case, after we do the fetch call, we're gonna have a const response, okay, and we're gonna wait for the response in here, await res.json. So we're converting again into a JavaScript, the response, and we're gonna check if this response dot error. If we have an error in here, this means that we have to throw an error, all right? So here we're gonna say throw new error. I'm creating an error object, and we're gonna send this response dot error, okay? Otherwise, you can do an else in here if you want, but it's not needed, okay? Otherwise, if we don't have an error, we're gonna return the response result. So here return response dot result. Okay, this is pretty much what we need to do, but we're missing one extra thing that is not explicit saying here, but it's in our test. Basically, here we're doing this asynchronous method like we did, async. The call we're doing here, we're using this dot-provider href, great. A JSON stringified version of the object, so here we're sending this the body in a stringified version. Then this part in here, we have in our post method, we should have a content type header set as applicant in here. So we're gonna create headers. Okay, and in here, inside of headers, I use it here, square bracket. We're gonna use curly bracket. And what are we gonna do? We're gonna use this content type. Remember to capitalize C and T, application/JSON. Okay, so this is pretty good. Here, comma. Then this part now is done. Then our post, a request to have a body including the JSON stringified version of address, and we have this in here in our body. The call method should return a promise that resolves with the result. Here is our line 27. And if the response body contains an error, we're gonna throw this error, and we have this in here. So it seems to be working. Let's run our test. And like we can see, we're passing all these tests, okay? Now let's work with the init smart contract. So now in the item 5, we're gonna create this init smart contract, and we should accept an IDL object literal, that is a smart contract signature, and return the contract instance of callable methods. So this is our IDL that we're gonna receive, okay? The callable method should return a promise resolving to the result of the call method, and here's an example of the input and its output, okay? So this is pretty much what we have to do. Let's create this init smart contract here. So init smart contract, and we're receiving the IDL, okay, like we're seeing in here, we're receiving this IDL. What is gonna happen? We're gonna create an object called smart contract, and right now we're gonna let this empty. But now we need to do an iteration in all the instructions we are receiving in the IDL object, because like you can see here, we have one instruction and we have another one, and we have to keep track of the ID, the handle, and the arguments. So now what are we gonna do? We're gonna do a for const instruction of IDL.instructions, okay? This is our loop, and then we're gonna add things in our smart contract. So here's smart contract, and first, like we can see here, we wanna work with the instructions part. So I'm gonna use here instructions.handle, okay? We're working here with the handle part, and this will be a async, like they're telling us, and return a promise. So here we're gonna do an asynchronous call. So here we're gonna do async. We're gonna get the args, like we're seeing here. We need to get these args, and we're gonna trigger the function of the handle, okay? And here we're gonna create this const RPC call, and let's build this RPC call. The ID will be equals to the ID of the IDL, okay? So IDL is the object that we have .id. Then our method will be this method here that we're getting from the handle, okay? Instruction.handle. I think here I made a mistake. Here's the instruction. Great. Instruction.handle. And we need to pass these arguments as well. Okay? So basically, we're adding our smart contract. We're triggering a function that will store here the result of this asynchronous call. Okay? And we have to send the ID, method, and args. This is pretty much what we need. After we create this const RPC call, we're going to return an await. We're going to call the function here, this function that we built on line 11, and we're going to wait for its response. So here we're going to return await. And why await? Because it's an asynchronous call. This dot call, and we're going to send this RPC call. Okay? At the end, once we finish creating our need smart contract, we're going to return our object smart contract. And let's see if it's working. So now if we go here to instructions, run tests, we are supposed to pass the test of the init. And we're passing the parts until the item 18. Now we just need to work with the get balance and the transfer, and then we're done. And they are pretty similar to our call function. So to do this, we're gonna create this get balance. Okay, so here I'm creating a get balance, and here I'm gonna make async again because we're doing a fetch call inside. So get balance, and then we're gonna receive an address. And why is that? Because here we're seeing that we have here address, and this question mark means that this is optional, so we have to handle with this in the future. And we're using async because we're waiting a promise. So the get balance should accept an address and return a promise that resolves with the balance of the given address. Okay, so here we're gonna receive an address. And now, if you see, we're going to make a post using the provider, we're going to have a body, and then we should return an error if we receive an error, or we're going to return the result. And this reminds us what we did for the call. So I'm going to copy what we did in here, and I'm going to paste in our get balance, and we're going to do some changes. So here in the body, we don't want to use this RPC call. Here we're only going to have address, okay? And this is optional. So here we're going to use address if we receive, but if we don't receive, or we're gonna get the address of the class, okay? Then we're gonna do an await fetch to this provider, but we're not doing for call smart contract anymore, it's the get balance. So here we're gonna do the get balance. Great. Then the method is still post, the header is still the same, the body we need to do the same, and the other parts, they are pretty much the same as well. So like I said, everything working fine. Let's see if we pass in here in the get balance. So in the get balance, we're passing all the tests, great. Now we need to work with the transfer. And the transfer will be exactly the same as the get balance, only changing one little thing. And let's see what this means. So I'm gonna copy, I'm gonna paste in here, and I'm gonna do async transfer. Okay, and let's see here what the transfer expecting us to do. We're gonna receive a from, to, and amount. So here instead of address, we're gonna receive a from, to, and amount, okay? The from, it's optional. Do you see the question mark in here? And the other ones we're gonna receive for real. We should receive these properties, the address to send the funds, if not provided, the address property of the Web3 class should be used. The to will receive the amount. We should return a promise that resolves with the result of the transfer. We should make a post to this route here, and then we should send the body, and here we're gonna throw an error, or we're gonna return the result. So like we can see here, we're gonna change some things, okay? Here we have the from, and it will be from, or like we see here in this bullet point, or the address of our constructor. So here this.address. Then we're gonna send to and amount. This is our body, okay? Then we're gonna do a fetch call, but it's not to balance anymore. It's to this route in here that we're seeing in item 11, transfer. We're gonna do the same things, await result, and blah, blah, blah. So this means that it's pretty much the same. Now, if we run the test, we should pass everything and we finish our code. Okay, and like we can see here, congratulations, you passed all the tests. So that is pretty much that we have for this project. If you enjoyed this content, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye. If you would like to have full support from Programming Expert via Telegram group and group coaching, check the description below.